To respect everyone's time, I'm just gonna let everyone else who's in the waiting room in, and we can get going.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're totally fine. Probably just need a rundown before, I will make sure that.
Oh, you did, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna Facebook first, right? I'm gonna start looking just for that.
Jillian's gonna be absent, or?
She's not going to make it, she emailed me.
Her is absent right here, so.
Lovely, thank you so much. Oh, okay, don't like the stuttering. Good evening, everyone. As always, let's start with introductions. You don't have to if you don't want to, but if there's anyone new, please feel free. We'll start with the physical room, and then we'll move on to Zoom.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anissa Sabora. I'm a community organizer for the Northwest Bronx Community and Clergy Coalition. I'm interested in getting our youth engaged civically, so I'm in this meeting today to learn a little bit about what CB8 has for youth and how they are engaging with the youth in the community.
Meet you.
Me? I'm Rob Jablonski. I'm a member of Community Board 8 and of this committee. College of Mount St. Vincent.
Sergio Villaverde, I'm a member of Community Board number 8. A member of this committee. I serve as vice chair of the board and chair of the Special Committee on Veterans.
My name is Emily Hoffman. I am a community member. I am on the youth committee and the library.
And if you don't know, I'm Julia Gomez. I'm the chair of the youth committee. Thank you for joining me this evening. I try to keep these meetings relatively painless. So, we're gonna move along the agenda. There are no, extraordinary circumstances, so that means there are no committee members participating over Zoom. So I'm gonna move on to item number 2, the approval of the minutes from both September and October of 2023. Is there any discussion of said minutes?
Beautiful.
Aw, aren't you the sweetest? Hearing none, is there any opposition to approving the minutes? Any abstentions? Wonderful. Of course, I had my chair report all nicely bulleted out and everything, and I forgot that it's in my Google Drive, and I can't access the internet from here, so I'm gonna see if I can get my phone together, but there were a couple odds and ends that I'm never really sure where the best place for them is, so I'll touch on them in my report, and we can pick them up or leave them be when we get to new and old business. Starting with, we had talked at one point about whether we wanted to continue to meet in this space, or if we wanted to move physical, for those of us who are physically here, or if we wanted to travel around the community board. We had kind of put it out there, but I think we let that lie, and I wanted to just remind folks about it. I think we should kind of, I think it's a good idea. I understand that we have some limitations now with the hybrid meetings in that we need a space that has a decent enough Wi-Fi that we can do. That's fine. You know, happy to go anywhere, visit anyone, provided we can actually hold a meeting that there's the Zoom capabilities, because I do think it's important that you all are able to participate. I know it's hard to get here some evenings, as I demonstrated this evening. So if any of you on Zoom or in the room would like to volunteer, please let me know. I think we would be probably, maybe December, but more likely February as a reminder. We are not going to be meeting in January due to the holiday. The third Monday in January is Martin Luther King Day, and rather than try to squeeze us into what is already a very packed calendar for any month, we usually just forego the meeting if there's nothing pressing. Anybody have any reactions to meeting at other places, or any place that you guys would be like, it would be impossible for me to get there, or like prohibitively difficult?
I actually think it's a great idea for us, well, for those who are meeting in person, to have the opportunity to go to different places throughout the district. I really think that's a great idea.
That you volunteering to host us?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
All right, so I'll reach out to you offline to figure out, let you know what our requirements are, see which month would be best for you guys to host us. That'd be awesome. Yeah. Another thing that I want to put out in the universe, we've talked about in other meetings, but I think we need to kind of, if we're going to do it, pick it up and maybe put some timelines and such, is the youth community calendar. We've talked about the last couple meetings. I didn't get anything, and the board didn't say they got anything about events for November. It is getting towards the end, and with the holidays, I'm not sure it's realistic to pretend we're going to get it together for December. So maybe like setting a deadline for, we need your events by this day in December to put out a January calendar. So start letting that percolate now. Again, we can talk about it here, I guess, or we can do it in old business when it comes back around. You have two pieces of, or two items that probably weren't shared with everybody. One is that there is the Civilian Complaint Review Board is accepting applications for the Youth Advisory Council. They're accepting applications until next Thursday, November 30th. Video and audio statements can be submitted via link in the application. There's a website or a link that we'll pass around, but if you have any young people who would be interested in participating in the Youth Advisory Council from the Civilian Complaint Review Board, you don't have to wait for the link. Let us know, just in case we get a little delayed in getting that out. Also, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated has released their scholarship for the upcoming year. I believe that was posted to our Facebook, because usually that's what they do when they tell me it's available. So if you would like more information, I believe it is high school seniors, but again, I can't access it right now. But if it's not on the Facebook, please let me know. I'll make sure we send it around with these minutes, or probably before that, to make sure folks have time to apply if they're interested. Questions, comments, words of wisdom on anything I just said? Because I said a lot of little things.
I have a question. How do I get connected? I can see some of the links and other things that you advertise.
Put your name and email address here, and I'll have Pablo add you to our little listserv that goes around.
Okay.
It might be a big listserv. I actually have no idea how many people are on it.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts, questions, comments? All right, let's keep on plugging along. If you were here last time, or you watched the meeting last time, you know that our chair, Julie Reyes, suggested that we take some time out in this meeting to set our priorities for the year. Sound overwhelming? We're not tied to anything right now. We can kind of put things out there that we've been working on as a community or as a committee for the last couple of years. We can pick new things up and put them down as we go along through the year. But it probably is a good idea to kind of, if there are overarching themes we want to make sure we're paying attention to, that they go on the agenda with follow-up items or anything like that. I think you guys can unmute yourselves. So, thoughts on any kind of priorities that we as a committee should have for the year?
What, again, like new to this party, what have been priorities in the past, and then what have been some action items from those priorities?
So the one thing that comes to mind immediately is we had, during COVID, we had kind of taken up trying to address the digital divide in any ways that we could, acknowledging that we are really an advisory body, and so we did put forth a resolution, asking that Links put more kiosks or stations in the community board, because that is free Wi-Fi that people can access. We made it part of our budget priorities, to ask that. I think we were asking if, like, police stations and firehouses and libraries could get Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi boosters, so that, to kind of try to address internet, kind of the way we started taking that, and that was something we did for most of the year. We had toyed with, like, do we need to ask for money or pass resolutions for classes of some kind, or, getting devices themselves. I think we decided was probably a little too big for us. But that was one of the things that we did, and that was 2 years-ish, year and a half.
Okay, so like the priority we named was closing the digital divide, and then the action stuff that happened from that was getting hotspots in libraries and.
That's what we
Okay, that helps me like frame it. That helps me think about it.
And one of the other things is, like, we did tried to get the resource fair kind of resource guide together so that we could connect more of the community centers. That was something we tried to tackle from a couple different angles. And I guess I could say that we try to look at socioeconomic status, because we do really support and push for continuation and expansion of SYEP, but we also try to push as many scholarships and the Yankee Award, and trying to get young people recognized, and when there's financial compensation for that, try to get them that as well.
I love SIE.
Yeah, and
I wonder if we could help advertise that to I don't know enough about, I used to work at a community center that had SYEP, so I don't know, like, what the steps are to be able to have that at your, I wonder if we, like, advertise that more, help people understand that, or help people go through the process, and then on the organizations and community centers, and then on the flip side, help people, the youth in our community, make sure they know it's available to make the match.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, folks on Zoom, you guys are pretty aware of when that application comes out and what due dates are, and they're usually the ones letting me know that they've released the application and it's time to start applying.
To be involved in SYEP, not as opposed to your organization.
More. I think most of the organizations, at least on this call, are already involved to the extent that they can be. Sorry, I keep forgetting that the phone is the speaker for you guys. I'm gonna try to speak this way, but I can't speak and look at you. But then on the flip side, we did, like, expanding it so you could have more youth, or increasing the amount that they got, and I think they started a 2-tier system where 14 to 15-year-olds get X an hour, and 16 and 17 get Y or something. So yeah, that's one of the things we try to tackle from both ends.
And are there enough SYEP seats in the district? In the district, for everybody that wants a seat?
She's asking, if you couldn't hear, if you guys feel there's enough slots, SYEP slots for youth if they want them, or do you feel like need isn't quite met. Yeah, you should be able to just unmute
Yeah.
yourselves. If you can't, let me know.
Hi, Tashawn Brown at Marble Hill. I feel like maybe we did like a SYAP like recruitment day. Like even if we can't sign them up, get their information. So when SYAP time comes, we can like have selection from our own communities. Because a lot of times I get SYAP kids who travel outside the community, but then the guys and girls inside the community sometimes don't go to like our sites to apply, or they apply online and sometimes they get put other places. So it's a great benefit for the for the youth, but not always the youth in our communities. So maybe if we have like a SYP resource day, or even like a job placement day, like if we had our like a job fair type of thing to find jobs in the community for kids and youth of the community, I think that'd be beneficial. So we can actually use the slots for people in our neighborhoods.
Yeah, I think we might need to get DYCD in with us on that. I know there are some, well, 1,000 years ago when I was doing SYEP, like we all went to this big gym and all the different providers had a table and kids could kind of sign up, very low tech. I mean, I think our liaison with DYCD is really hands-on. He actually just sent an email asking for a kind of check-in meeting. So I will add that to my to-do list to see if that's something we can do, and if so, how. Ma'am?
In community boards, do they make space for SYEP? If there was young people who wanted to become civically engaged through the summer program, do you guys actually open space up here for them?
So,
In any community board in New York City, I'm just thinking.
I can't speak for all community boards, I only know how we work. We're usually not in session for the summer, so, I think in terms of if youth want to get involved, and this goes to the youth council as well, I think, what's the minimum age to be a board member? I know we've had like 16?
16, yeah. We had high school.
Yeah, we've had high school, so anyone who's 16 can apply to become a member, and then they come participate. It is, I think, we ask a lot of our young people, so it is a big commitment, but.
But do you mean, does the board itself hire the summer youth?
Yeah.
Question? I don't know that they have in this board, some do, some don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not certain that they have.
I'm happy to.
No,
Whatever.
yeah, Alexander, I always mess up his last name, so I'm not even gonna try. He's reached out for a meeting, so I think I'm gonna ask that we add that to the agenda since they're already trying to schedule something. Both, and I'll also ask the board if there's, we can make a good use of youth, participants this summer, create more SYEP slots. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that's a priority for us this year. But also, in addition, is there more we could be doing, either advertising, advocating for you guys to have more slots, if this is gonna be a priority, kind of thinking of it all the way around and how we can, have this be something we're working on. We are gonna start budget priorities probably in February, which will be our first meeting, so if we need to advocate for more slots or more, ask that they give the youth participants more money, that's the time to do that as well. So just file that in the back of your brain somewhere. Are there any other priorities that folks can think of right now that they would like the committee to focus on for the next 7 months or so?
I think civics. We used to do, the board used to do, but now there's several groups that are now, looking into it, like the Appellate Division First Department. They have a civics project, they cover the Bronx and Manhattan, and I think maybe partnering and getting civics education out. I think that doesn't happen during the regular school day, from what I understand. What a community board does, what elected officials do, who's what. That kind of knowledge is power, and, something that we can help with. I think we'll partner with people who do it. Funding for it.
And I think we could also, on that vein, this committee could lead the charge for actively recruiting more youth participants on the community board.
That's a fantastic.
Because I think we've had two that I can think of off the top of my head, and they really have brought a very unique perspective and a fresh outlook and a level of creativity that those of us who may be, I'll speak for myself and myself only, a little stuck in our ways, sometimes aren't always, it's harder for us to think in new ways. So I would like to add that to the civics priority for the year.
I just say that I'm starting that with the youth where I am, and that's what brought me here this evening, looking at how to engage young people in civics. So I'm doing tomorrow, actually, a workshop, 101, for youth that I have in the community, to get them started. Really wanted to see what this was like, and then I can go back to them and say, hey, you guys should look at your community board and see if there's a place for you. Thank you for that.
When you have those events, feel free to email the board office, let them know. It'll go out on an email blast usually, and/or at least go on our Facebook page so that we try to make sure the information we have is readily available to the community as well. Thank you. Any other thoughts for priorities for the next few months? Again, we can add them later. We can decide, we've looked at all the angles of one and we should take it off. But at this time, are there any other priorities? All right, this will be an agenda item. So again, if things occur to you between now and next meeting, please let me know. So item 6 is, again, something we had picked up and maybe put down, and I don't know if we meant to or if I just didn't follow up. So most of the other committees, to my understanding, as part of their monthly meeting, invite presenters to come in, talking about different topics, talking about their organization, talking about, have DYCD coming in and talking about what they do or something. I do think Alexander did that for us last year very briefly. We have not really done that since I've been chair, and I don't know that my predecessor did either. I know he was meeting in the middle of the day, so I wasn't able to participate in those. I would propose if we do that, we have some time limits and such, because, people are very passionate about what they do, and people will, if you ask me about my dissertation, we'll be here for the rest of the night because I can talk about it until tomorrow. That doesn't mean, so I would propose that we have, some time limits on it, like 15 minutes and then 5 minutes for questions and answers. But that will add 20 minutes to a half hour to each of these meetings, which is fine if folks feel that's the best use of their time. I just don't want to assume what's best for you guys, since, as I've said last time, I can see you guys are in your offices, most of you, and still hard at it. So thoughts on having speakers, presenters? Do we, want me to try to line things up every month, every other month, as things pop up? When people want to, just give them the floor. What are folks thinking?
We
I would
have
say
a
as
few providers on.
Sorry. I was going to say, as things
Good.
pop up, so, if it's pertinent and you feel like we need it or it's something of the community, as things pop up, you can get speakers instead of having it so planned out.
Sergio, you were gonna?
I think, since we do have a few of our regular attendees are, Marble Hill Center, KHCC, MMCC, that it could also be people who are of interest or information that the providers would like to have as well, that would benefit the programs, thus benefit the youth. So this is a place where we can get city employees to come in and do a presentation. So if there's something that a group of the providers, say, all right, this is something we don't really know how it works too well, or, we've always had a problem with having somebody come in. That's something that the community board does particularly well. So we meet with them every month, the district manager meets with them and such, so we could arrange that. So that's another thought, if any of the providers feel that there's something pertinent.
So I'm gonna float this idea, feel free, if it falls flat, it's absolutely fine. Why don't we start with trying to get presenters on SYEP, someone we can talk to about how we get more slots or how we get, and, you know, maybe asking Alexander to come to one of our meetings or somebody who maybe specializes in that in the next couple months. And also talking to the office about finding someone, maybe from the borough president's office, who would be good to talk about civics and civic engagement, and we'll plan for those next two presenters, and, you know, by April, because again, we're not meeting in January, that gives us the next 3 meetings to try to get those 2 presentations in. 4 meetings? I can math. And then we'll kind of evaluate as we go along on what worked, what didn't work, what was helpful, what wasn't, and modify as we move along. How does that sound? Nods?
Yes.
Awesome. Any other questions, comments, concerns, words of wisdom on presentations? Our standing agenda item, any discussion of intergenerational business? Maybe we need to define at some point, that would probably be more helpful. I am gonna reach out to Oscar to see about having a joint meeting again, to kind of see if this is still something we wanna do. Oscar, you know, try to give him a minute to get his feet under him. It's a lot to join the board and become a chair and try to figure out what people have been doing. But I don't wanna let that drop. I think we should have at least one more joint meeting and kind of see where people are thinking. Oofity. So I am gonna try to get that for, I think we had talked about for December. And again, respecting that, trying to keep us all on task with a joint meeting can be a bigger ask than we sometimes think it is. But is there anything specific that you guys are encountering in your organizations that you feel like would benefit from an intergenerational lens, or? All right.
There's a beautiful article in the New York Times about intergenerational friendship. Documentary about it.
I think that was some of it too, is that when we were talking about this kind of intergenerational business, it's, you know, some of the youth need volunteer opportunities and connecting them with some, you know, as a mentor or a friend or friendly visitor, doing that kind of things. Also, most of the centers, even though the folks on this call primarily focus on youth, some of your larger centers work with a wide range of people. So if we want to talk about things that affect the entire family unit, grandma, mom, dad, grandpa, aunt, uncle, kids, you know, like poverty, like education, like English mastery, you know, there's a space for that. Maybe I will put that as a follow-up item for me too, is to get a better definition of intergenerational items for you guys to kind of help focus these, this agenda item. All right, flying along, any items of old business? I'm just gonna ask, for this calendar, do we think January is probably the better target, or do we wanna try to get something going with the next week, and really the next week, because it's the holiday, and I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I was the only one in my office today.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, again, I will try to make that happen if you guys think it's important to do for December. It'll be a little bit of a tighter turnaround, and that also falls on you guys. It means I'll need you guys to get me your things faster, or we can push and, like, set a deadline for December to try to release a January calendar. What are folks thinking? What are they leaning towards?
January is fine.
Yeah, something more reasonable.
I think we could try to push for January. I think January is yeah.
So what do we think is a realistic deadline for you guys to get your events to me? Again, factoring in holidays, Does anyone off the top of their head know when Hanukkah falls this year?
It starts the beginning of December on the night of the 7th, December
The
7th.
night of the 7th.
You like it?
Get it out of the way.
What?
So what, so my thoughts are we could do like Friday the 15th, which is kind of smack in the middle of the month. Well, let me ask, when do you guys all have to set your calendars for the next month? Because there's no point in setting a deadline before you guys have your calendars done.
Everybody muted?
The faces, I love the faces, guys.
I think the 15th is a
If-
good time.
Because for December, I mean, again, I want to recognize that folks will probably be out of office at some point during the month. We could push it back one more week and say the 22nd, that folks need to at least email it to me as they're walking out the door. No, we think that's cutting it too close? Split the difference and say the 20th, which is the middle of the week? Let's say the 15th. If you get it to me by the 20th, I'll do my best to get it on the calendar, but I make no promises after the 15th. Does that feel right to folks? Okay, we'll do that. Again, the faces, I'm mad I have to face the other way I'm gonna have to sit somewhere else next week, or next month. Any other old business? Any items of new business? Anything lingering in the air that I've forgotten that I said I was gonna do and then you guys didn't hear anything about it again because I forgot? All right, last call for any business, new, old, or otherwise, before I let you guys go. I know it's late, I don't wanna hold you here unnecessarily, but I'm the one that's like, as soon as the meeting's over, I'm like, oh, I forgot. If that happens, you can email us, I'll try to work on it in between meetings. That is all, folks, then thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you guys coming out or staying out, to meet with us. It means a lot to me. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully it is whatever you need it to be, whether that's exciting or quiet or loud or what have you. And I will see you all, I think, December 18th. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Hi, all.
Good evening. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I hope your food's really good.
Enjoy,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you.
Yes, have a happy Thanksgiving.